Yo, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Inter Extra podcast. I have once again to the left of me my boy Sean. How we feeling today, bro?
Can't complain. Feeling good. Always a good day to talk Inter.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's been only 6 days since the last episode, but this might be our longest, guys. You guys will know when you start listening, but we don't know how long this is gonna be yet. It might be a long one. I will just warn you guys. But before we get into the details and what happened the last week, Sean, tell the people what to do.
Yeah, since we have you here, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, comment on any news that you saw this week on the Twitter account, follow us on Twitter, share with all your friends, and yeah, don't forget to interact with us in any way possible. Um, yeah,
All right. So thank you for that. I will get straight into it. And as I have kind of, hinted at this past week, I have some things to get off my chest, right? Obviously, we're a news-based podcast. We bring you guys the news from the last week, so you guys don't have to open your phone every 20 minutes to see what's going on. But I have a few things that I'm very confused about, and if any of the Inter is listening, which they're obviously not, right? But there's a lot of things that have been confusing me. Sean, if you wanna add your, what I'm saying, your opinions afterwards, feel free to. But guys, I'm confused with just looking back now because obviously we're heading towards the end of August now with how this Mercato has played out, how this summer transfer window has played out for Inter. I say played out, how Inter have handled it. Because you hire a new manager, he has an idea of a 3-4-2-1, and then you don't give him a single one of his requests, right? Forget about how, okay, Liverpool came in for Leone, Atalanta, Lookman, whatever. It is, again, and I mentioned this last week for Leone when he left, there is no clear push for any of the transfer targets that Inter have had this whole summer. Boni, Thomas tweeted this. Boni, Luis Enrique, and Petar Sutic were signings from Inzaghi. I think Inzaghi wanted all three of them because the Boni rumors were there before Kivu came. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sean. But I think those rumors were there beforehand. And even if they weren't, that's an idea of the board before Kivu comes in. Because you obviously have those names written down previously. And then you have 2 months time, yeah, to prepare a squad for a new formation. Kivu's trying stuff. And then you're pulling out of it because seemingly, not just because of preseason, right? But also because of what we've tweeted and what we've read in general in the media, 3-4-2-1 is kind of being, like just thrown in the bin, basically. And the 3-5-2 seems to be what the main formation now since Inter are going to be focusing on a physical midfielder. I will get into that. My problem is, yeah, there is no clarity on any of the, I say clarity, there is no clear push for any of the transfer targets, and it is not how you act as a serious club. I have, like, why do I have to keep tweeting the same things for weeks upon weeks upon weeks if we know at the end of the day nothing's gonna happen? I know that's my personal favorite meme, but genuinely nothing is happening. And it's not how you act as Inter. It's not how you act as the board, especially if you have decades of experience. Beppe especially and Auxilio as well, and then you move like this. Now, Sean, I'm sure you agree with me, right? But it's almost like you're acting like the season doesn't start in 6 days, and the squad is half finished, and you don't know who's leaving. You're not sure who you want out. You're not sure who you want in. The cells, we don't even have to talk about the cells. Sorry, before I finish, the cells are hideous. Every player is getting a sell-on clause slapped on them, 50%, whatever. Even like the young players from round 23 squad, because our board does not know how to sell a player. We are selling out of pure, like, just have that player. Main example, Sebastiano Esposito. I said it last week. 4 million euros for a guy that scored 10 goals with a terrible Empoli side. It's just a prime example. And I think a lot of you guys will be able to relate to what I'm saying, but overall, you know, a lot of things have cleared up. This rant was going to be longer, but a lot of things have cleared up now. But still, I'm very disappointed with how this is looking. Again, we might come back next week or in 2 weeks even and have like, oh my days, Inter pulled off the craziest transfer window in the last 10 days. But I personally don't see it, you know? We see a lot of hype on social media. We see a lot of like, you know, Inter might come through these next few days and, you know, surprise everyone and whatnot. We need to be realistic. I don't think it's happening. We might end up with some last minute solutions again. This board never learns. We've had last minute solutions for the last 3, 4 summer transfer windows, and it never ever worked for any of the last minute solutions. So, Sean, I don't know if you have anything to add to that. If you want to add anything that I might have forgotten.
I didn't when you started. I do now. Um, the incompetence of the board, I think, comes from two different places. One, the last 4 seasons they have had to, or the last 4 summers, not including this one, so the previous 4 summers, they have had to work under a exceptionally restricted budget, which means there are very few actual targets that they could go after. And you would think, okay, well, one of these summers when we can bring in big cash, you could spend. Well, we only brought in big cash one summer, and that was the summer where it all went to shit.
Yeah,
And so that was Lukaku and Hakimi going. Now, those sales saved us from having to do the same bullshit the next 3 summers. So thankfully, we got 180 million of, the numbers thrown out back then were, geez, what we needed 400 million profit over the next 4 summers or whatever to be able to stay afloat. But because we got so much of it out in that first summer, we only had to do 50 plus million every summer profit in the end, every transfer. So it was good, but we didn't get to use any of that money. And so they've been on this tiny budget. And I think that led to laziness because you couldn't make these cheap moves, these last minute kind of stop gaps until the end of the Mercato. You can't do anything until the end when someone is desperate to get rid of a player. Um, or it's a free transfer. So it's something
yeah,
you're either working for months from February into June, or you're not working at all until the last 2 weeks of August every single year. They have forgotten how to move properly to set up a squad in time for a manager to actually get the players ready. People got mad at Inzaghi. This is one thing that I don't really like. Of course, Inzaghi took way too long to get players integrated into the team.
yeah,
But this is something that I really got angry at him with because he would get players at the end of August and then you expect him to just throw them into his system immediately, right? Imagine you got them at the beginning of July. That player is only sitting 2 to 4 weeks in the season instead of 3 full months to try and figure it out because he's having to do all of the preseason tactical training with that new player while setting up for these games every week. And it's infuriating. And so my I mention all of that because what have they been doing all summer? They haven't been moving all summer. So they did all of their work from February into June. Luis Enrique, who is obviously was being worked on in April and May so that he could come for the Club World Cup. Inzaghi signing. Sucic in January. Inzaghi signing. Like you said, Boni was a signing for Inter regardless of who was going to be here. Like that was an investment they wanted to make. And then the sales. Oh my lord, the sales have been absolutely atrocious. The real issue when it comes to these sales, because I understand you might have to take a loss on some of these players to get them out. You don't want to be paying 35 players on your squad, right? And you want to get rid of them permanently. You don't want to have to loan them out again and then have to deal with the same bullshit next summer. right? And you can't loan a player when they have 1 year left on their contract. So then you just have someone sitting, not playing for the team for a whole year. You're paying their salary, whatever. I get it. All of these sell on clauses are because Inter knows that they can get more money later because other teams know how to sell, and we don't.
And isn't that hilarious? Isn't that so
It's
funny?
hilarious. The problem begins with these contract extensions, though. Acerbi was supposed to, and Darmian and Mkhitaryan were supposed to leave this summer initially. They got extended an extra year to lower the cost of their contract or whatever it was so that they were less on the books. But now you have all of these players still on the books, and you are saying, well, we can't make a move until we get rid of some of these players. It's like, well, yeah, they were supposed to be gone by this point already. They haven't been moved because you're refusing to move on from them. You didn't have a plan going into this summer because you didn't think that you were going to be able to do the work that you were able to do, I guess. It's just, it is, and Beppe Morota, as much as the good work that he's done, the he epitomizes this every summer when he says we're going to take this opportunity that comes our way. Right? That is by definition, there is no plan. We're going to wait for something to present itself to us, and then we will decide whether we take it or not.
Just being passive, basically.
Yes, just being passive. And when Inzaghi, which you should have known was leaving at the beginning of April, when Inzaghi was gone, you had to you should have changed immediately into we've got to get things done now because we've got to change completely, right? Inzaghi took over a Conte team that was built for Inzaghi already, right? The only issue that he had is that he didn't have a center back that could play a higher line that Inzaghi wanted, which we've been dealing with for years. Same thing this summer.
Yeah.
But he got Acerbi. He wanted Acerbi, right? And some other players. So Inzaghi still got some of the things that he wanted. And yet we are still stuck in the same place there because the moment that a manager wanted to change something, they couldn't do it because they were too lazy to do it. It's been infuriating the entire summer to just see them not have a plan. And that's what I really see is that there is no plan.
Yeah.
Rant over.
Yeah. No, I can only agree. And again, I don't want to repeat myself from last podcast, but the fact that you bring in a manager, he has certain things that he wants. Obviously, because he's joining a big club, he thinks that there's certain requests that he's allowed to make because this is Inter, and then you don't have the balls to ship out players like Acerbi and Darmian, which you have to do. You have to, you absolutely have to. What is Darmian's role in this squad? He's not a wing back. He's not going to be a backup for right centre back because if Pavard leaves, we're going to sign another right centre back. What is his role, right? And then same thing for Acerbi. Why are you keeping a 37-year-old? Look, I've talked about it last week. I need to contain myself. But I don't get it. And then you have a manager that has things that he wants from the start of June. And then you sign more players outside between February and May, which isn't even a transfer window, than you do between July and August. Right?
I will mention something about Acerbi and Darmian after a certain transfer that we talk later in the show
Okay.
because they're kept. They're kept because they're Italian and they're like homegrown players,
Right.
right? So they kind of fit that those requirements that are needed. But there's a player, none of it makes sense. It does not make sense. There is a player that fits that mold that we made a mistake with.
Okay. Okay,
But I digress.
we'll see, guys. Okay, this was the opening 15-minute round segment. Again, guys, I would love to know your opinion on this in the comments. Am I being overreactionary? Am I doing too much? Is Sean doing too much? Let us know, guys. This is just how I feel, and I had more to say. I forgot some of it because of how certain transfers have cleared up the last few days. Probably we'll have to say more again next week after the opening league game, depending on how that goes as well. Because then we'll see a real, like, hopefully focused Inter, and then yeah, that's the rant session over, guys. So we'll get
And
into.
it's important.
Go on.
Yeah, so it's important to remember that we're complaining now. This can change,
Of
right? They
course,
do
of
have
course.
2 weeks. They do have 2 weeks. All of you guys can kind of make fun of us if at the end of the Mercato they fix it and they do get some signings and it does look like it's a good Mercato. Good. They do have 2 weeks left. Right now, I think our complaint as well is that you didn't have to wait until after Ferragosto to make a move.
Yeah,
So there's still a chance that it's not a terrible window, but at the moment, it does not look good.
yeah. Um, we'll obviously it's the 19th of August today. It can always change on another day. Like, there's 11 or 12 days left. If they do manage to pull something out of the sleeve, like in the last 12 days, fair enough. I'll hold my hands up and be like, you obviously had something cooking. But yeah, let's move on to onto the news. Let's move on to the as you guys are used to this by now. If you're watching on YouTube, of course. As always, if you're not watching on YouTube yet, guys, and you're only listening on the podcast platforms, make sure you go tune into the YouTube as well because you can see the tweets that I'm showing on the screen. So the last friendly of preseason is was played out on Saturday, I think. Was it Saturday? Um,
Sunday.
Saturday or Sunday, late night in
Saturday.
Bari,
Yeah.
and it was a 2-0 win over Olympiacos, but with goals offside goal actually by Federico Di Marco and Marcus Thuram with a rebound goal. So not the prettiest win, but last friendly in the bag. I'll let you go first with what you made of the game.
Um, there is one thing that I saw, and shout out to Mr. Alpha Bravo. If y'all don't follow him, go follow him on Twitter. That's his account, Mr. Alpha Bravo. He shared something with me, and it was about the difference between the which friendly was it? The Monza friendly and the Olympiacos friendly, right?
Yeah,
So of course, a draw in this one with Monza's offside goal, and then Olympiacos later. Um, and it showed the high line, like the defensive line, and the compactness of each line, midfield line, defensive line, and attacking line, or the
yeah,
attacking two. Um, and how kind of they were a little bit more spread out but deeper against Olympiacos, while against Monza, they were higher and more compact. And I just liked to see that because I think it's an understanding from Kivu. He doesn't have the player he wants yet. No need to force a tactical change that's not going to work because De Vrij and Acerbi will continue to get cooked every single game like they were against Monza if they have to turn towards their own goal and run backwards. That is when they are the worst at defending. Yes, yes. As Nima and Carlo Garganese say on the Italian football podcast, they both move and turn like World War One tanks.
yes,
They cannot turn and run. They are so slow. So yeah, that was the only thing that I really liked from it. Otherwise, it was just a good performance.
yeah. I agree. I had a lot of people say, like, or just tweet in general, that a lot of players looked a lot fitter, and I think you can tell that this was the last friendly, which by the way got confirmed. There was some people asking if there's another friendly maybe pushed in between this game and the Torino game because it's obviously like what 9 days apart, which is a lot. But Kivo did say in the post-match interview that this was the last game, which basically confirms it. Which is a bit interesting because there's 9 days in between, which is the longest break we're gonna have the whole season, basically between games. And yeah, so I didn't actually think it was the greatest performance. I do like what you mentioned with the difference in the defensive line, like how high the defense was. And obviously, Kibu kind of realized it against Monza, especially that second goal where whew, it was looking like that. You know that Chelsea Tottenham game where one of the teams had two players sent off and then they were just standing on the halfway line. That's what it reminded
Yeah.
me of. Like genuinely, completely not what you would expect out of an Inter team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think like people were saying Thuram was looking more fit. I just feel like Olympiacos didn't defend well. I feel like he still looks very like heavy, very like to those of you that play FIFA, right? It's like when you play Foot Champs on prime time, 6 p.m. when everyone's opening packs. That's what it feels like with Thuram, like watching Thuram, because yes, you can tell he's a good striker, but he just does everything at like 75% speed. And I'm like,
Mm,
this is not the Thuram that we signed or that played the first part of the 23-24 season slash the first part of the 24-25 season. It does not
mm,
look. He does not look convincing still. And again, if Andrian Boni improves his finishing, we saw some howlers in that game as well again. But if Andrian Boni improves his finishing, it's over. It's khalas for Marcus Thuram in that starting striker spot because he is going to have to fight for that spot. So it's
mm.
going to be interesting. But again, a win is always good. Okay, again, morale booster, of course. And since it's the last friendly, yeah, not too bad. We had some players that were missing. Carlos Augusto, Thomas Palacios, and Davide Fratesi have all stayed in, or did all stay in Milan, and missed the game. I don't actually know what Augusto and Palacios have in terms of injury. We know Palacios is supposed to leave, so maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, that was
I think it
the
was fatigue.
yeah. I think they
It was
did say
fatigue.
fatigue, but make of that what you want, I guess. And then we had the under 23's first official game, which I don't think anyone was able to watch unless you were in Italy, because Sky Sport Italia did show it. But if you managed to watch it, again, feel free to comment what you made of it. I did watch the highlights, 3.5 minute highlights, and from what I saw, very professional performance, very convincing. I don't know if you watched the highlights, Sean.
I didn't. I looked at the end result, so I was glad to see that. I didn't want to give Sky Sport Italia the money
Yeah,
for that game,
no, definitely not.
and for that competition. So, no, I'll have to go watch those highlights. But yeah, I was just happy to see that they won. This Coppa Italia is all a Serie C, so all three divisions or all three sections, all three groups of the Serie C table. Um, so again, this is another test against another team at the same level as them, and they got another win. So it's looking good.
Yeah,
That's what I'm happy about.
very, very happy. I do recommend you watch the highlights. You can definitely tell that. Again, it's a very mature team already, which is good to see.
Also, yeah, just quickly, a week before that game, we talked about, or a week before, or last week's pod, we talked about Zubarek staying because they were impressed with him. And then this weekend, he opens the scoring, or
There
he
you go.
scored the winner.
Equalizer,
Yeah, so he
sorry.
scored. Yeah. Um, yeah, so it was good. Good to see that, right decision being made, looks like.
Yeah, it was a good finish too, near post finish. You can tell he has that striker's instinct. Um, don't know who he reminds me of yet, but there was definitely some good signs. And then Kamate scored a beauty. You'll see it when you watch it. So yeah, this is good signs. From what we're seeing early on, obviously first professional, an actual competitive game. So yeah, now
And can I
guys, go on.
sorry, I was gonna just mention two other games,
Oh
since
yeah,
we're talking
please go
about all
ahead.
of the previous results. Just switch some things up from here, but yeah. So the Primavera, I was able to watch this 1-0 win over Monza's Primavera.
Oh,
Good
you
start to
watched
the
it.
season. That's their first. I did.
Nice.
Um, I was able to watch it. We won't say how, but uh,
Okay.
but yeah. So 1-0 win. Both teams had their chances, and I'm just glad that Inter took theirs. And so yeah, first 3 points of the season for them, and then the Inter women's team, they beat Atletico Madrid in the Women's Cup. And if you guys don't know, I looked it up because I saw the Twitter and Instagram account posting about it, but it's kind of more than a friendly, less than an official competition, but it's supposed to be building interest in the women's game to be their version of the Club World Cup. Not the one that they have now, but the previous one. In the men's style, the 6 teams from each continent coming together to play in a tournament, and then there's a winner. So beat Atletico Madrid in the semifinal and then lost to Juve in the final. So uh,
Against
it's
Juve.
tough.
Ah, come on,
Yes,
man.
against Juve. So that's tough. Not happy for that. But, you know, a good performance against Atletico Madrid. Inter's women is showing that they can be a team that plays in the Champions League for on the women's side. So that's awesome to see because they're, 3, 4 years old as an official team.
Yeah. All right. I think that's the results all caught up. I appreciate you for keeping up to date with the teams. And
Yeah.
since we're talking about matches already, I do want to mention Valentin Carboni, who scored on his Genoa debut, his at least professional. I say professional debut. Competitive match, first competitive match for Genoa. Scored a great goal with a good, a whole just great play overall, on the goal for Genoa against, I don't know who they played. I'm so sorry. I think Vicenza, no, in the in
Yes.
the in the
Vicenza.
Coppa Italia. Great goal. Great to see him perform. Hopefully, he has a great season at Genoa. And then I do think Giacomo Stabia started for Juve Stabia against Lecce in the Coppa Italia, right? Okay.
Yes, he did.
And Giacomo De Pieri got subbed on. So that's some good signs from, the players that literally just got loaned out. And I do also want to mention, because I watched the game earlier before we started recording, Alexander Stankovic started tonight for Club Brugge in the Champions League playoff, and they won 3-1 away at the Ibrox against Rangers, which is not an easy place to go to, of course. So they just
Not at
have to
all.
get through that second leg, and then Alexander Stankovic, who we obviously have a buyback clause for next season for 22 million, and then the season after for 25 million, will be playing Champions League football most likely, which is amazing. Not just for his value, but also for the fact that he's already starting games. He started the last 2 league games, and he started this game. So great to see. And I watched it, guys. He looks very comfortable, slots right into the team, and has the composure of like Busquets, literally. Like, again, not in terms of like quality, but he looks so calm on the ball. It's very convincing. So yeah, very very happy with loanees slash players that we need to keep an eye on. So
Yeah.
yeah, guys, moving on to the transfers, right? The main point of the whole podcast, and there is I love Thomas for this picture choice. We have Piero Arsilio and Beppe Marotta in the most stylish sunglasses, bro. They got that drip on, I have to admit. But as serious as they might look, they might not be as serious. Sky Sport report via Di Marzio that Inter will look for a transfer opportunity, but at the moment does not feel a complete need to sign another player. This was 4 days ago. Yeah, guys, this is a very worrying signs, but we'll get into why it's worrying. First up, Adamola Lookman saga is over, Sean. It's over. And just to give
Thank
some background information before we discuss it, um, after discussions between Christian Kiefer and the club, Inter is no longer prioritizing a forward. The priority is now a midfielder of Manu Kone's profile. Inter is fine in attack and can field Mkhitaryan, Zielinski, or Fratesi in the attacking midfield role. Obviously, should they switch to a 3-4-2-1, whatever, right? And then, with the Lookman saga over, the profile Inter is now following closely as official. Okay, that's basically the same thing. But, guys, the saga is officially over. The saga is done. There have been talks with his entourage to basically say, okay, we're out of the race. Go find another club. He's back training with Atalanta. He got a fine as well. I just read. I just found out he got a fine. Um, yeah, I don't have anything to
Yeah.
say.
No, I think we've said all we've needed to about this Lookman saga, how many episodes we've had to spend on it. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's yeah, the opportunity, the non-planned transfer has finally ended. So,
Now,
whatever.
it's very disappointing that, again, this is kind of what I expected, right? Like, I had my hopes up because I'm an optimistic person, right? But at the same time, when Matteo Moretto and those kind of journalists were reporting that it was fully frozen, I was like, okay, it's actually over. And then like the fact that this dragged on for a month is hideous, very very hideous, and I'm just glad it's over. I'm glad it's the focusing on. Well, am I glad? Yes, but also we could have really used a player like that. But clearly, sticking with the 3-5-2, sticking with the attacks that we have. We'll just see we'll just see where it goes attacking wise. But yeah, guys, let us know your opinions about the Lookman saga in the comments below because I don't have much else to say. Sean obviously doesn't have much else to say. It's just very disappointing, very disappointing. But again, we're also glad it's over. As mentioned, Inter's priorities are now a midfielder, then a defender, and if an opportunity arises, a forward. That is obviously, you know, since that the forward thing is the third thing mentioned, there's obviously not going to be a forward signing. I do
Yeah.
think a midfielder will be signed. I do think a defender will be signed eventually. When and who, God knows. But according to Pascal Iguaro, 100% Inter will sign a midfielder and defender. That's a strong shout, but we'll see how true that ends up being. But to get into the rumors in terms of who that could possibly be, we had what was it, the day after we recorded the last episode? We had rumors of Manu
Yes.
Kone coming out, where Inter actually submitted an offer of 40 million plus bonuses, which is probably around what 43 to 45 million for Manu Kone from Roma. Now, obviously, just to explain the situation, they have financial fair play issues slash they got fined. So one of the clubs that were fined, I think, for financial fair play breaking, and they possibly have to sell some players that they can obviously sell for big money, and Manu Kone is one of them. Yeah, that was quickly shut down a day after when Di Marzio reported that Roma has decided to keep Manu Kone and has abandoned talks with Inter with the midfielder. And then just because I want to make sure that everything's covered with the same player, today Matteo Moretto tweeted that Roma will do everything they can to keep Manu Kone. However, Alfredo Pedulla said on the Italian Football Podcast, make sure you guys go check it out if you haven't already. Inter target Manu Kone wants to stay at Roma, but due to their financial situation, they might be open to selling some players this transfer window. Again, so this basically confirms that the player wants to stay. This is the other way around compared to, the Lookman situation. The player wants to stay, but Roma might have to sell. Which means, because obviously Atalanta didn't have to sell, but the player wanted to leave. Which means if their financial fair play rules, I don't know the exact details. I don't know how much they have to sell, if they have to sell by the end of the window. I don't know what's going on with their fine, whatever. Maybe you know more, Sean, but this is
I just my understanding is if they want to sign anybody, they have to move someone.
all
So
right.
it's
This
like
Do you
it's not
think this is connected
they
to the
don't have
Sancho deal?
yes. Or
Okay,
any deal really. Yeah.
okay. Because I was confused because Pedula also said that Sancho is done. It's just the player that is stalling the move. So I don't know if how true that might be, but you might be right. However, I just find it interesting that that is completely different to the Lookman situation because now we have a player that wants to stay, but the opportunity might be there. Okay, you might have to offer up to 50 million, right? But you know that if Roma are forced to sell, you have to be there at the door to be like, yeah, we want this guy. Because then obviously Conte can't really say no.
Yeah, I don't think he would reject Inter either. I just think that he loves being at Roma right now, which understandable. Big club, great club. They're probably going to be competing a little bit more for the top four this year than they were last year.
Yeah,
Um, and they're serious contenders in the Europa League. So, you know, it, I understand why he would want to stay. Um, him wanting to stay doesn't mean he hates Inter and would never accept us. Like that's something that I think people should understand. So
yeah,
if he wants to stay, they have other players that they could sell. I think Kone might be their last option. It's like we know that you're the most desired option here, and you'd be the easiest to sell. But we're gonna go with maybe some other guys that we're gonna see if we can get rid of them first, so that we don't have to lose you. So we'll see how it plays out.
yeah. Again, this is kind of difficult for me to say anything on this because I don't know the situation at all mine. So we'll literally just have to wait and see. It was kind of reactionary, I feel like, when Roma rejected the offer. the day after the news broke, because clearly it's not completely over there. You can always, say that Inter are there, as they love to say in Italy. Inter are there, they're waiting. But I don't think it's anything concrete. There's no offer, obviously, on the table right
Yeah.
now. And so it's just something to keep an eye on, but nothing concrete right now. And so we don't really have to focus on it too much. The other names that are there is obviously the name that's been there all summer, apparently, Morten Frendrup from Genoa. Not really the same type of player, but maybe not as complete either. But definitely someone to keep an eye on. I know you've kept an eye on him, I think, more than I have, right?
Yeah, there's some other guys that have watched him a lot more. It's the same type of position, double pivot, defensive midfielder, physical profile, right?
Yeah,
So Kone is the much more complete profile in that sense, but Morten Frendrup is your cheaper option there. So yeah,
yeah.
I don't
And
I
then,
don't care too much to say about him.
yeah, nah, same, because I don't know too much about the play either, so again, I don't want to say too much. But next to Manu Kone, which again confirms the interest, Inter also interested in 21-year-old Rennes midfielder Jaoui Cissé. Now, this broke literally like an hour ago, and I watched him in the opening game that they had. I think they were the first game actually on Friday last week. The first game of Ligue 1. I am impressed. I do like what I'm seeing. I would prefer to see more, to try and understand if he's the right profile for Inter and if, he fills that spot that Inter are looking for, or that spot where Inter are looking for a player. But yeah, that's the midfielder names, I guess, that are there. Again, only three. Like, again, nothing's concrete, but those are names to keep an eye on. My problem is, guys, and I forgot to mention this in my kind of early like rant to kick off the podcast. My problem is if you're playing a 3-4-2-1 or even let's say a 3-5-2 and you're sending Aslani, is the CDM that's coming in going to be a backup to Hakan? Because how's that going to work? And then if you're selling Zielinski, okay, yes, he's expensive in terms of wages, but then you have Mkhitaryan, you have Sucic, you have Fatezi, you have Barella. You're still stuck with Mkhitaryan. If you're playing a 3-4-2-1, where are you playing that player? Because you have Hakan, Barella. If you don't say Zielinski, Sucic, Mkhitaryan, and Fratesi all in the midfield. Okay, Fratesi can play that attacking role, but I'm just confused what the tactic is with the midfield. Why are you shipping out Aslani in the first place then? If we don't, if you're only going to sign a player that is going to compete with Hakan, Sean, I know you're ready to go. I don't let me just give me 1 second. If
I'm
you're
gonna let you land.
if you let me land. If you're selling Aslani and then you bring in a young midfielder, is you just gonna queue up like behind Hakan? Because then you'd have to sell Hakan and then keep Aslani maybe to like let this whoever's coming in develop. If you're buying Kone, is he gonna play Regista? Because if you're sticking with 3-5-2 now, what's the plan? Where are you playing Kone? Are you playing him in the Mkhitaryan position? What is the plan? It feels so, again, just like I mentioned at the start, it feels so like incompetent in terms of what you're actually planning for the midfield, specifically the midfield. We're going to talk about the defense still, guys. Don't worry. But midfield, what is the plan?
This so I understand the profile of Kone because he can play both formations, and Kivu has talked about not completely abandoning 3-5-2, playing a 3-4-2-1. This I feel like all of this couldn't happen because you've never had an actual defensive midfielder that could play both as a regista and in the double pivot, right? We saw Sucic this last weekend. He could not play the regista role. He might be able to in the future. This past weekend was not good.
Yeah.
He did not look comfortable in that role, right? Why the hell are you selling Alexander Stankovic, who
Yes.
can do
Thank
both of
you.
those roles?
Oh my god, how could I forget? Oh my goodness. What a mistake.
Because 7 midfielders right now, 7 midfielders, 3 positions. Okay. You've got an aging Mkhitaryan, a high wage Zielinski, Aslani, and Hakan, who had talked about leaving. Okay. Right. So 4 of them. Basically, if you let all 4 leave, you now have 3 midfielders left. Means you have to move to a 3-4-2-1, right? You have to kind of plan for that, or you have to fill in all of those midfield positions. We wouldn't let 4 midfielders go. I'm just saying this hypothetically. You don't let Stankovic go, you've got 4. You've got 4, and all you have to do is invest money into a Kone. You've
Yeah.
got a Stankovic. If you don't lose Hakan, if you lose Zielinski, Mkhitaryan, and Aslani, you now have Stankovic and Hakan as your registas. Because Stankovic can play that position. That is his position. That is what he's been playing.
Yeah. He played a double
And
pivot tonight.
played a double pivot tonight. He's been playing double pivots for years. He has been playing both of those roles. He has been being molded into that player, right? So a player that can play both formations. Next to Barella, next to anyone, next to Sucic, next to Hakan, whatever it is, he can
Only
play that.
Hakan can do that, by the way, right now. Let me just clarify that. Only Hakan is capable of playing as a regista comfortably and as an 8.
Yes. Yeah, Barella looked good. He looked much better than anybody else that we've ever seen play in the Regista.
Yeah.
But that's because he's just so intelligent and is a high quality player. It's not his position. You don't want Barella to be playing that deep. But I digress. Selling Stankovic locked your midfield.
Yeah.
It completely locked it.
He could have
You now
been
have
that Aslani replacement in house already. We have Rice at home.
in-house already.
We have Rice at home, literally.
Right. And now you're getting, we'll talk about the price for Aslani, but basically the same money. The same money? Are you kidding me? Like, it just, I don't understand the midfield moves because you have locked yourself in by selling Alexander Stankovic. And I've been saying it on Twitter and I haven't explained why he's our biggest regret. He is our biggest regret because we could not move on from anybody in midfield.
Yeah.
You could not go get a different profile because you couldn't get rid of Mkhitaryan. He's not going to go anywhere. He's going to retire after this season. Zielinski makes way too much for any club to come in for him. Aslani doesn't want to leave because he wants to sit on the bench, earn a paycheck, and his attitude honestly sucks right now and it's really annoying. And then Hakan has been flirting with leaving for months. So it locked your midfield because you had to replace too many players by getting rid of Stankovic.
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning Stankovic as well, because that is something that, like, I completely forgot, but that is literally like I've been screaming this as well. I think we're two of the main guys that have been, not just fans of Alexander Stankovic, but also, because he's ready. He's ready. Okay, he might be more ready next summer still, but then next summer we have to pay 20 million for him.
Yeah, he's more ready than Aslani, that's for sure.
Oh, 100 million %. 100 million %.
This isn't to say that he's better than Hakan. This is just to say he can come in and actually provide Inter with something and continue to develop. Because he's the same age as Aslani when we brought Aslani in. So, like, what's the difference?
Like, the difference
You
is
just don't have to
that
sell
the
him.
board doesn't trust him because he played a season in the Swiss league and Aslani played a season with Empoli before. Sick, right? Like, But this is exactly what I've been saying. Like, he's ready now. Okay, you have a buyback for what, 22 million. It might be a bit lower because of the future resale thingy. 20 million you have to pay for your own player. For your own player. Okay, you pay 10 million theoretically because you sold him. Why do we have to do this? We could have just kept him and not paid anything and sold anything, and then we don't have this issue of trying. Because then, if Aslani sees that Stankovic is there, he knows that he would have to fight for that vice Chalana role. Now he knows that Inter are staying in a 3-5-2. Aslani doesn't have to leave. Okay, Arsilio said he has to leave, or it's better for him to find a new club. But Aslani theoretically doesn't have to leave because he knows that Inter don't have a player like him, like a Vice Çalhanoğlu in the squad. If Stankovic stays, Aslani's like, oh wow, I have competition. If I want to play, I need to go to a different team. Suddenly, you can ship out Aslani in July, and he's not against it because Stankovic is here. Look, guys. Again, sorry for being kind of like, raging on this because it can't. But we can't change it now. We can't change it now. But this should have been how things could have been a lot easier, not just for transfer market, but also for squad planning. Yeah, yeah. Do you want to move on? Because
Yes, we can move on to center backs.
thank you so much. Okay, guys. First of all, we have a tweet from my good friend or our good friend from Inter Extra, Luca Bendoni, who works for Sky Sport Italia. Great guy, great journalist. If you don't already follow him on Twitter, please give him a follow. He works with the Di Marzio team. Yeah, great guy. He just reported that one of our reported centre back targets, Loic Bade, is close to agreeing a deal with Sevilla.
Leverkusen.
With sorry,
From
from
Sevilla.
Sevilla to
Yeah.
Leverkusen. Sorry, first reported by by Sky in Germany. So Florian Plettenberg. They will be paying 25 plus 4.5, which basically means 30 million for the player. Decent fee, but plus 10% sell-on clause. So Sevilla are smart about this again. And yeah, so that's one centre back target gone, basically. Apparently, he was waiting for Inter to make an offer. That was like a day or two ago. Well, clearly, they're not making an offer. So I think he eventually just said, look, if that was even true, he eventually just said, look, I'm not going to wait for Inter. I want to go somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, he saw old man Acerbi and thought, yeah, there's no way they're moving on from him.
Yeah. So
That,
that's the target. That's the target out of the way. And then also a name that's been popping up, especially the last 7 days, is Umar Solé, who is obviously had 6 months at Udinese. He was not registered beforehand because of his contract termination with Salzburg, so they couldn't register him until January. And there's been a lot of rumors, and especially Gazzetta have been reporting about him a lot, and I think Pedula as well, Alfredo Pedula. And then Fabrizio Mano confirmed it on one of his last videos. I think it was yesterday that the interest is real. However, he has some legal issues going on off the field, which we're not going to get too much into. But if you guys want to read up on it, you can read up on it. And the board has been following the player since before he joined Udinese. We know this since like 2023 when the first rumors popped up. But there are also other names on the list, which we've known for a while now that there's a few centre back targets. But yeah, so apparently his legal issues have been discussed with the players' agents, and which is why Inter would only go for a loan with obligation to buy or buy option. But yeah, there's nothing concrete. There's no offer or nothing in on this yet. So we'll have to wait and see on this. And obviously, depending on how his legal issues play out, obviously is something that as a club you have to, take very serious, even though they said that they've already discussed it. However, this is something that you obviously need to be very careful with. So that's one target. And then one name that's been popping up yesterday as well is Lils Alexandro, the Brazilian centre back. He is, I don't want to say up and coming because he's 26 years old, but potentially a candidate for the Brazilian national team soon as well. Because obviously the
he's
defense
played.
is he's played already.
He's been he has played for the national team already.
Okay, see,
Yeah,
sweet.
he's
Sean
been
knows more than me.
first yeah, Ancelotti's first squad that he called up. He played.
Okay,
So
sweet. So apparently an Inter scout was watching the game Brest against Lille, which ended 3-3. I watched that game actually. A scout was present to watch the defender, which is interesting. Again, no, this is a very usual thing. A lot of clubs do this, but still, a scout was present and definitely someone to follow because again, I do like the player. I don't know how much you watched him, but I think he's a decent player. Yeah,
I do watch the French league. I do watch Ligue 1. I watch Lille in the Champions League. Like there was never a time, but I don't watch never watched him specifically. So there's never been a time where I either was like, "Oh wow, this guy's incredible," or even, "Wow, this guy's a bum." Like you could see, a serious flaws in his game. He just, he's been a part of this Lille team for 3-4 years or so. So
okay,
um, it's never bad. I mean, as a Champions League experienced player, he's sitting and entering his prime. So the one thing I will say about him, because I don't know him much, but he is left-footed, so he not
interesting,
only would be able to play center back, which I think is what he's being watched for. He could also fill in on the left if Bastoni needs to rest or something. So it's not just Augusto coming and dropping into left center back. and so we can actually move on from Acerbi. Like Alexandro would be an exact Acerbi replacement, center back, and left center back.
Yeah, see, this is my problem. Again, same thing with the midfield. There's no clear plan for the defense. We're talking about Acerbi, okay? Getting rid of Acerbi, maybe terminating his contract, whatever. What we've been hearing, right, and this is confirmed by multiple sources, is that a defender will only join if Pavard leaves. What on earth does that mean? Does that mean that we're literally just selling Pavard so we can bring in another player? Because then we're just replacing Pavard. We're not upgrading, we're not downgrading, okay? Because Pavard is obviously, we know, a world-class defender, but obviously recently he's been kind of slacking. But he's still a good player, you know? So you're bringing in, okay, you're bringing in maybe Alexandro, you're bringing in Sole, whatever. What is the point? I thought the point was to ship out Acerbi and then get a central centre-back to learn under De Vrij. Why are we now focusing on a right centre-back if we have two world-class players on that position? This is my problem. I know you said, Alexandro, he's left-footed, he might be able to... No one is talking about getting rid of Acerbi. Acerbi's not leaving.
Nope.
Why are we selling Pavard? Okay, you can get some money for him now, whatever, I understand that. This does not make any sense whatsoever. Keep Pavard for this season, yeah, and then focus on... Because Acerbi obviously is leaving next season, right? But then focus on signing a defender next season, and then you don't have to change anything now. Because if you shuffle things up now, you bring in a player that didn't spend preseason with Inter, you don't know how it's going to turn out. What are you doing? What are you actually doing? And I think I'll be more infuriated when the defender actually joins, and if, let's say, if Pavard leaves and the defender actually joins, I'll be more mad if/when that does actually happen, because I do not understand what the point in that is. Maybe, like, again, guys, correct me in the comments if I'm missing something, right? On what I've just mentioned. And Sean, maybe, I don't know if you want to say something on that. I do not understand what the point is in switching out a right centre-back if the actual problem is the central centre-back position.
The only thing that I'm thinking of is that Pavard can't play center back, right? So Bizek can
No,
play
Bissek
right
can.
and left. He's been played there. I think they're thinking that he can't actually fill that position long term. Right. So the same way that Bastoni can fill that position, but you don't want to move Bastoni away from left center back.
See, I personally think he
Bizek
can.
is just so much. He's just so much better on the right or the left.
That's
like,
the thing. He can play central centre-back, but he's too good because he's so good on the ball. That's why they don't want to play him central centre-back as well.
Correct. So it's not so much that he can't fill in that position. It's they want someone, you get rid of Pavard, you bring in a player that will play that right center back position, but essentially is a center back, and it's in their mold. So it's like Acerbi there, where he is a center back and can fill left center back. Their idea is you get rid of Pavard, and for a season they sit there at right center back, but they are going to shift into center back for the future.
But then
That's
Alexandro
the
is
only thing I
left-footed.
can think of. Yes.
And
So
Soleil
it would only make
is a right centre-back. And he's too good on the ball to play central centre-back. Do you see my problem?
Yes, absolutely. We're trying to get rid of Palacios as well, though, right? So you don't have a left center back. You have Augusto, a left wing back, who now is, we only have two left wing backs. We'll talk about that later. But now Augusto is going to have to be much more as a left wing back than filling in as left center back. So now you actually need someone that can actually be a vice Bastoni while they learn. Right.
Right.
I guess is the thought. I'm trying to make my brain as irrational as possible.
You're being very generous here. You're being very your imaginations. You're letting your imaginations giving your imaginations full flow. Listen, guys. Again, I just like with midfield and also attack. I guess not so much, but just like with midfield, I do not understand, and I think we both don't understand really what the plan is, and it just kind of seems like clueless in just the whole window. But yeah. Guys, let's finish off incomings with rumor that I say rumor. Basically confirmed. We're just missing the official announcement that Inter under 23 has agreed on a deal to sign Sampdoria forward Antonino Lagumina, who is 29 years old. So another experienced player from Sampdoria. On loan is frying me. That is so funny. On loan is absolutely killing me. Yes, let's develop him, guys. And then just to oh yeah, that's it for incomings. Pretty much done, guys. Who saw this coming? We're switching on to outgoings now, guys. Who saw this coming? Nikola Zalewski to Atalanta for 17 million euros. This literally happened within a day as well. This happened like on Sunday, I think. No, sorry, Saturday evening. The rumors came out after the friendly. Sunday everything was done, and yesterday was the official confirmation.
Negotiating with that club in any way, shape, or form other than the Lookman deal is absolutely vile. It's shameful and pathetic to negotiate with that club after the way that they have been acting all summer. Additionally, Zalewski leaving is a confirmation that the 3-4-2-1 is dead this season.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Because he could have played right or left attacking mid. He can play right or left wing back. He can also play Metzala. Right. Versatility. I'm so angry at this. It is a good value, right? We got triple of what we paid for him. It is great value. It is a great value, but it doesn't make sense. Again, it is a move that doesn't make sense because he allows versatility in the formation and tactically. So this this move screams abandoning Lookman, abandoning this for a year, because there are pieces that I think will come back next year and will actually be able to make this formation change then. But yeah, we didn't
That's
see
if
him under
Kivu stays.
if Kivu stays. I mean, even some other managers, I think you might have to make a drastic change to a back four if you get other managers. So even then, even more so, we'll need to change to wingers as well.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah, shameful. Good value, I understand that. Shameful.
Yeah. I
And
tweeted this on my sorry, go on.
that's
Oh.
it.
I tweeted this on my personal account, guys. And it did get a lot of love, but also a lot of hate. And I understand both sides. I tweeted that this is a no-brainer. You signed him for 6 million. You paid 5 million or 500k, sorry, for the loan, and so you redeemed him for a total of 6.5, close to 7 million euros, and then you can sell him for 17 million euros. I know there's no sell-on clause, there's no bonuses, just flat out 17 million is what I heard. But you're getting almost triple the money that what you paid for him. Financially speaking, this is great, you know? Again, people were saying plus Valenza, whatever, you know. But this is sorry, let me get back to main screen. This is also, like you mentioned, Sean, a very like move that doesn't make sense. So when I say no brainer, I mean financially, okay? So don't get it
Mm.
mixed up with my opinion in terms of like should he have left like squad wise, you know? And what you mentioned is really interesting for the formation because in my opinion this doesn't confirm that the 3-4-2-1 doesn't isn't happening. Like because Kivu will tell you, and what we saw earlier from the discussions with the Lookman deal when they discussed with Kivu, that the club sees Mkhitaryan, Zielinski, and Fatezi as attacking midfield options. Those guys behind the strikers. I know. I'm thinking the same, right? And also,
Yeah,
apparently, they're counting Luis Enrique as well because you know he can play that position. That is
that's fair.
so. That is so. Just naive to think that that is enough because Zalewski's probably the best player that can fill that position that is not a striker, you know? And then comes maybe Fatezi, maybe Luis Enrique, maybe Mkhitaryan, maybe Zielinski. But absolutely not. We're absolutely not stacked in that position whatsoever. In fact, Zalewski's the last player that I would have sold. That just because of his versatility, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
not sold in terms of financially, because again, financially he's one of the first players I would have sold because of that low redemption. But that's
Yeah.
literally the only positive I see, and it doesn't make sense to me. Guys, we do have some words from Zaleski, who was very. You can read it yourself here on the screen, or if you're listening to the podcast, it's on his Instagram. Very very heartfelt message. You can tell that he had a great time in those few months that he was here for, and also the comments were very sweet. You had the players commenting that they'll miss him and stuff. You can tell he fitted right into this locker room, which, but wish him all the best for Atalanta. Hopefully he goes and smashes it. He will be the starting left wing back seemingly, since that's where they needed reinforcement. So yeah, so
Yeah.
much on Zalewski leaving. And then just to bring in some other exits, we have Matteo Motta, who joined Lumezzane on loan. I don't know if he featured in that game against Inter under 23, but he was already in the squad. So
Mhm.
that he was on the bench for sure. I don't know if he actually got subbed in or not, but that was another confirmation. And then what we got today is that Alessandro Fontana Rosa joined Avellino, so Serie B side, on a permanent deal, right? So not on loan,
Mhm.
permanent deal, with I think a 50% sell-on clause, but on a free transfer. So Inter didn't get any money for him, which is absolutely shameful because this is still a good talent. And yeah, 50% sell-on clause, which God knows if that's ever going to be used, but I always liked him in the primavera and stuff, so it's kind of a shame. But yeah, that's the official announcement. And then, guys, we have to move on to the rumors because, as we mentioned last week with the Galatasaray stuff, more clubs are apparently interested in Benjamin Pavard now. Obviously, we just discussed the defender confusion that we don't really understand. But Benjamin Pavard is liked by Neom, so the club in Saudi, Galatasaray, Lille, and Olympique Marseille reportedly, which is very interesting. The feeling is that Pavard would be open to the move to Marseille if they made a serious offer. However, according to Sky Sport Italia and Luca Marchetti, no offers have arrived yet for Benjamin Pavard, and if nothing arrives, Inter's defense will not change. Now, this is what I am hoping for personally. Well, not hoping for because I still want to Cherry out, but it's not going to happen. In terms of what's realistic, this is what I'm hoping for because of what we just discussed earlier. But this is the situation right now, and these are the four clubs interested.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Like, Pavard missed a bunch of the season last year. I understand wanting to move on from him. He is the epitome of a right center back playing right back and center back across his career. So um, it's gonna be Bisek's gonna have to stand up or fill in and make the step up. But um, yeah, we'll see. We'll see
Yeah,
what happens.
I do think he's ready, but it's just literally don't let because we've seen it plenty of times. Again, I need to mention it again. We can't sell whatsoever. There was talks of 30 million when the rumors first came out that Pavard is Pavard is not untouchable, and then towards the end of last week there was rumors that Inter would let him go for 15 to 20 million, which just shows again why are we doing this? Why are we going from 30 million to 25 million to 20 million to 15 million? It's very very disappointing. We had some rumors on Davide Fratesi, who was linked to Newcastle by several sources, and then Fabrizio Romano confirmed that they appreciate Davide Fratesi and have him on their list, but as of today, they will not make a move for the Inter midfielder, despite rumors. So there was rumors that a bid came in, which is obviously not true. They signed Jacob Ramsey from Aston Villa for their midfield, and now they're trying to bring in a striker because obviously if you guys know, they have the issue with Alexander Isak, who's trying to force his way out, kind of similar to Lookman, except someone actually wants to pay the money for him, and it's Newcastle that's holding him back. And then Matteo Moretto followed up on that, saying that there were multiple Premier League clubs interested in Davide Fratesi, most notably Newcastle United. However, they never arrived at Inter store with an actual offer, so none of the clubs, but specifically, filtering out Newcastle again, didn't arrive with an offer. And what we already heard at the start of, no, sorry, the end of July, I think we mentioned it on the podcast once, that the midfielder's contract could be extended next month. So obviously Kivu's a big fan of him. We've known this. This was one of his first requests to keep Fratesi. And unless, someone offers like 45 million plus, I don't think he's going to be leaving.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. I mean, yeah, Kivu likes him, and he's scored some important goals for us. So if Kivu has a plan for him, then that's good. I feel like Fratesi was a player that Inzaghi did not exactly ask for and made the best of with his qualities. So
Yeah, super sub,
I'd
all
like
of
to
that.
see, yeah, I'd like to see what a manager that actually wants him and has a plan for him will do. So,
Will
and a
be
contract
interesting.
renewal just will keep his value up. That's all that would do. So that's good.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely interesting. We'll have to wait and see. We'll also have to wait and see if Mehdi Taremi leaves, because since we reported the Fulham interest last week, nothing happened, guys. Again, I know the meme is there. Nothing happens. Like, literally nothing happens. He's back training with the first team. First, it was reported that he'll be training with the under-23 squad tomorrow, but yeah, which, if you guys are listening, it will be today.
Well, they signed a 29-year-old, so Taremi can't
Oh
fill
yeah,
that,
you know,
over 23 player role.
yeah, it's definitely, yeah, the fact that he's back in training is very concerning because he should be out the
Yeah.
door by now. Hopefully we don't
Yep.
have a situation like we did with Korea last season. Yeah, they just need to finalize that Fulham deal or go send him somewhere else. Just accept
Yeah.
something. And then, since we talked about Aslani before, Bologna are very close, guys, very close, and confident, according to Fabrizio Romano here, to get a deal done for Christian Aslani, with Inter receiving a fee close to 10 million euros, guys. We're making that cash money. 40% sell-on clause. Yeah, cool. But 10 million as a base fee is ridiculous. The contract details are also being discussed with the players' camp, and then Matteo Moretto said today, or tonight, this evening, today could be a key day for Aslani's move to Bologna. The move is very, very close, so we expect it to be closed by, I think Alfredo Petula said this as well on the Italian Football Podcast, by the end of the week / the weekend. So this should be the first player that's actually going to leave out of all of the ones that we've been dragging out now for the last few weeks. Yeah, it's close, and hopefully, they can agree with his camp,
Awesome.
the details on that. Yeah, do you want to add anything to that?
No, just
Okay.
leave.
Guys, we've had rumors on Thomas Palacios, obviously. We've had Olympiacos before. We had the Basel stuff, that the move to Basel is stalled. And 2 new clubs have come in since then, because the defender would prefer a move to La Liga, and Villarreal and Rayo Vallecano have shown interest. And Rayo Vallecano are the ones that are actually serious. So they've started negotiations for Thomas Palacios. We don't know on what level. Inter would prefer a loan move plus buy option for the Argentine defender. And this was yesterday. No, sorry, 2 days ago. This is midnight. This was 2 days ago. And I want to once again shout out my friend Luca Bendoni from Sky Sport Italia, who I asked him on this because there were some reports out of Greece today. You guys might be wondering why out of Greece, but obviously because Olympiacos were interested, / are interested. There were some reports out of Greece today that a deal with Rayo Vallecano is almost done. I did ask Luca Bendoni on this because I wanted to know if, this is real or not. And he did say that Rayo Vallecano they just haven't put a bid in to Inter yet. So they haven't put an official offer in. Neither a loan move nor just a permanent or whatever. No contact with Inter whatsoever, which means that it's actually far from being closed, and this could probably drag out to the last few days of the transfer window. So that's the most, that's the current standing on that transfer. So again, shout out to Luca Vendoni again, for sometimes, not only giving us exclusives, but also just giving little details here and there. Because, guys, not everything is worth tweeting. Not everything is worth a tweet. Some things are literally just mentioned on this podcast here because, this is what the podcast is also for. But yeah, so there's no official bid yet from Rayo Vallecano, which means this could drag out. And then guys, that is everything for our goings, really and truly. There's not really much else moving. Again, it's just been a very slow week in terms of, really things that have happened. But there is something more concrete on what we had on last week's podcast. We already discussed it with Piero Ausilio potentially going to Al Hilal as a sporting director, obviously. This was 10 days ago, and now today we have an update from the same source. I think this is a Saudi source, yeah. Al Hilal has reached an agreement with this unnamed sporting director. Obviously, it was said unnamed sporting director from Italy. The individual will join the club following the end of the European summer market, respecting their job with their current club. And then Pasquale Guerrero followed up on it, saying that it might be Ausilio, by saying that joining Al Hilal is a serious possibility. The Inter executive has shown openness to joining. And then we have a replacement apparently ready in case this does happen, which is Dario Bacin. Now, some of you guys might be familiar with the name, some of you guys might not be. He is part of Inter's board already. He has been for I don't know how many years, but you know, he works with Beppe, he works with Auxilio. He's often mentioned together with them. But
He
yeah,
also, and if anyone wanted to know, any time that we send someone to South America for scouting, it is typically him.
okay,
Like
good to
that.
know.
That's where you would have seen his name
Yeah,
if you would have seen.
but what do you
So
make of those
he helps.
rumors?
Um, I would prefer a more experienced sporting director, but I'd like to give him a shot. Sure. Auxilio leaving is needed. He's been here 10 to 12 years. If anyone remembers, he was here in the thick of the banter era. Anytime you saw interlinked to a good name, that a player that then became good and did well in their career, and we didn't get them, it was Piero Auxilio. Like that was him. Just because, and really, he's the epitome of Inter moving slowly. He waits and he waits and he waits, and then he misses out on so many deals. I need him to leave. It's time. Whether it's whoever comes in to replace him, new ideas are always good. That's great. But when it comes to these last few years, he has had his hand held by Beppe Marotta, who is getting old and is not as, I guess, motivated as he once was, because he also hasn't been doing great.
Yeah,
But as president, it's not his role to do that anymore. And so Piero Auxilio has been failing in his role, in my opinion, and it's time for him to go.
yeah. I don't want to say like goodbye, thanks for nothing kind of thing. But I do agree. I do agree with what you said. Like, there's been a lot of times where he messed up. A lot of times where I feel like he's at fault. And like get your bag. I guess. Like again, they're gonna pay him a
Yeah.
lot of money. We know this. But yeah, it's not like I'd be crying if he left. As it is what it is. Dario Bacchini is fair enough. It is what it is. But yeah, just I don't really have much else to say on this, guys, because I don't really have yeah, like too much emotional attachment to Ozilio, if that makes sense, if that's a way to put it. Um, Something else that came out this week is that President Marotta has become a shareholder of Inter with a stake close to 2% in agreement with Oaktree in order to further strengthen their partnership, right? Very interesting move. Yeah, do you want to add anything to this?
No, it's I think that's why he was over in the US for a weekend.
Oh yeah, he was in
That's
New
what
York, yeah. That might be why. Sign
yep,
everything.
just yep. It just confirms his like him he's going to stay with Inter for a long time. Probably not as president for a long time, maybe a year or two, but it looks like he loves this club and he wants to actually be a part of the decision-making process for as long as he can. So,
Yeah. Also, guys, something that I forgot to mention, but I guess it kind of does fit in here. Money-wise, Manchester United have inquired about Lucien Agumé. Now, obviously, Inter have a 10% sell-on clause left, I have to say, on Agumé. And Sevilla value him at somewhere between 35 million euros and 40 million euros, which is his release clause. 40 million euros, I think. Which I didn't know either that he had a release clause. So if Manchester United are serious about this, or slash if anyone pays his release clause, Inter would get 4 million from that
yep.
sale if he even goes. But yeah, because I don't think Sevilla will be against keeping him. But yeah, and then also, guys, just to finish off in terms of actual news, we have Matteo Moretto, who said that Gattuso is seriously considering calling Pio Esposito up to the senior Italian national team for the upcoming international break. I'm very happy for the kid, man. He's doing incredible and
Mhm.
very much deserves this, in my opinion. Again, he's obviously it's a shame he's suspended for the Torino game. We'll get onto that in a second, but he really deserves to be called up and get a chance, and not just in training, but also maybe get some minutes on the pitch to
Yeah.
to impress in the World Cup qualifiers. So
Yeah, I mean, Italy only has Retegui as a true number 9 and he went off to Saudi Arabia, so you give the chance and Gattuso said he wants to get younger players. So I'm happy. This is awesome for him, and I hope he takes the chance because right now there is an opening to take that number 9 for Italy.
Yeah. And then, guys, just to finish off, we have the confirmation that of who Inter on 23 will face in the second round of the Serie C Coppa Italia. They will face Ospitaletto away. It will be played at the end of October, probably like a midweek. And then, obviously, guys, if you don't know already, Inter play their first competitive game of the season on Monday. So in 6 days from us recording, 5 days if you're listening, probably on the 25th of August, Monday, which is going to be 8:45 Central European time, my time, and 1:45 for Sean's time, 2:45 if you're on the East Coast, 7:45 if you're in the
Yeah.
UK. Yeah. I do want to
Yeah.
mention,
Also,
sorry, I do want to mention that Hakan Çalhanoğlu and Pio Esposito are both suspended from last season's accumulations of yellow cards.
awesome. Good.
Yeah. Sorry, you were
Well,
saying?
yeah. Also, so the U23 side also plays their very first Serie C game
Against Novara,
on
yep.
Monday at the exact same time
They
as the
play
senior
they play
squad
Monday?
against Novara. They play Monday, the 25th
Thank you.
at 1:30 my time, so 8:30 in Italy, Central European time.
Oh.
Yeah, against Novara. And then the Primavera side plays on Saturday. No, no, no. They play Friday against
Oh.
Cesena Primavera. Um, so they're going to be in action as well again. So their second Primavera game. And then let me check to see if the Inter women have a game coming up. I know that this is kind of their off season actually right now. So yeah, I'm not seeing anything. So
Okay.
but we'll keep you guys updated every week on that stuff so that you don't miss a single thing.
I'm a bit lost because I don't know how we're gonna cover both the under 23 and the Torino game. That is gonna be a bit we might have to do double shift, me and Thomas.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um
Tommy's gonna have to be. He's gonna have to have 4 hands
no, he's gonna
to
have to
film.
have his eyes like I don't know where, bro, because I'm not watching the under 23s over the. I don't think we're probably just gonna tweet the full time result if the under 23s play when the first team doesn't play. So basically, if they don't play at the same time, which they did last time for the friendly and the Serie C Cup game. But look, as much as I do like the under 23. I'm not gonna watch them if the first team plays at the same time.
Yeah.
Hopefully, this doesn't happen too often because I do want to report on both, especially if we can watch the Serie C somewhere. Would be amazing. Again, the cup games I don't think we'll be able to watch, but the league games would be good if we can watch those and then also report on those live as we did with the Primavera on some of the games last season, which I did enjoy doing, especially the youth league ones. We will still be covering the youth league games as well live because that's a very significant part of Inter's youth work. So
Hmm.
yeah, but unless you want to add anything, Sean, I think we can wrap this episode up.
No, that's it from me.
Yeah, I just want to remind you guys, as per usual, if you didn't already, sorry, make sure you like, subscribe, comment your opinions on anything. Again, very passionate, but again, as I mentioned last week, we do this because this club is very, very special, very important to us. So we do this from a place of we want the best for the club. If some of our opinions don't make sense, please, you know what I'm saying, feel free to correct us. Feel free to share your opinions with whatever you think about whatever topic we talked about. Make sure
Yeah, we
to
need more positivity, FC.
yeah, again, I know I sounded very negative at times sometimes just because I don't understand some things, but I'm still a positive person, especially when it comes to, you can make the most out of a squad still, you can make the most out of a season, so you never know, but this is just, again, all just to clarify, I'm not mad in terms of whatever, this is just passion, it's just passion. So yeah, guys, please make sure you comment, tweet at us as well if you want to, follow us on Twitter. Make sure you give us a good rating on all the different podcast platforms. And yeah, guys, I think the only thing you have to do is watch the game on Monday and come back next week when the episode is going to be probably on Tuesday, again, Tuesday evening when we're going to record, so probably Wednesday. But yeah, guys, we will see you there, hopefully. And Sean, I'll let you do the outro.
Of course. Thank you guys for making it this far. I know this one was long, so thank you. We'll see you next week, and always Forza Inter Sempre.